A simple but time-consuming tasty treat that you're sure to love. Come check us out. Hey guys, it's Ken from Kentastic Cakes and Taste of Home Cake Crate. Welcome back to my channel. A super sweet and tasty dessert that I enjoy making is baklava. There's honey and there's nuts and there's cinnamon and sugar, and it's just super tasty. It's just really a treat. Every culture seems to have their own recipe. I'm following a fairly traditional Greek recipe. Again, it's really simple, and we're going to show you how to do it. This recipe, or this treat, this baklava, is actually going to be the mystery item in the June A Taste of Home Cake Crate. So if you have not ordered for June yet, you may be interested in doing that now. So what we have to get started, we have a couple cups of walnuts. We have some sugar and cinnamon mixed together. We have some melted butter here, and then we also have a big vat of melted butter here. And all this is obviously going to be in the description. We have a package of phyllo dough that has been cut in half, and we keep it covered with a damp cloth to prevent it from drying out. And then we're also going to make some honey sugar syrup that's going to get poured on top of it, and we'll show you that stuff a little bit later. So for now, we're just going to start by making our filling. So to make the filling, we take our walnuts. Now this can actually be done with walnuts, it can be done with pistachio, it can be done with peanuts, or it can be done nut-free. So for those of you who have ordered the nut-free version of A Taste of Home Cake Crate, you'll still be getting baklava. It will just be a nut-free version. Okay, so we're going to take the walnuts and throw them in the food processor. You can either add it now or add it after, but I'm going to add the sugar cinnamon mixture now. And we're going to pulse this out. We don't want it to be ground up too fine. We want it to be just, you know, mealy, sort of small chunks. Okay, and we're going to put this bowl underneath because sometimes it shoots it out. So we're going to do it on pulse for now. Just short little. And some of the stuff flies out, so we just pour that back in the top. Still haven't invested in a better food processor. So I'm going to pump this on just for a couple seconds. Alright, so that's good. I'll show you what that is. So as you can see, it is not pasty though. You still got some nice little bit bigger chunks here and there. So we're going to take that, we're going to pour it back into the bowl. And we're done with the food processor, so we'll get that out of the way. And then we're going to add this 2 tablespoons of melted butter. It just helps with a little bit of a binder for it, and we're going to just mix that in. You actually don't need to add the butter. I mean, this is just what this recipe calls for, but it's not required. And this is it for the filling. It's super easy. Okay. And now we're going to put that aside. Bowls. And we're going to actually grab our phyllo dough now, and we have a 9 by 13 pan. The original recipe that I'm actually going to post is for a bit larger pan. So I would, if you're going to just go with a small pan like this, you may want to cut the recipe in half. But you need a 1-pound package of phyllo dough. Phyllo dough comes in different thicknesses. The thinnest is number 4, which is what I'm using. It goes 4, 5, if I remember correctly, 7, and 10. 10 is the thickest. And each one you would use for different types of pastry. So like a number 10 that is thicker, you might use that for more like a spinach pie type of recipe. I actually generally like using a number 5, which is just above the thinnest. But I could not get that one, so we're just going with the number 4, which is the thinnest. Again, you want to have a damp cloth to cover the phyllo dough with because it prevents it from drying out. You also need to cut the phyllo dough to size. So I had already cut the sheet in half, but I want to just kind of measure a little bit. It's still a little too big, so I'm going to cut just a little bit off. It doesn't have to be 100% exact, but you want it to be pretty close because you don't want it bulking up on the sides. So I'm going to get rid of that. I just took a big chunk off that. And then that's just trash. You're not going to use that for anything. Except that it's all sticking to my hands now. So I'll measure again, make sure we're looking good. So that side is good. I'm going to take a little bit off of this side too. Better for it to be slightly short. Okay. Great. That should be perfect. So now to start, we've got our little vat of melted butter, and you can use salted or unsalted, whatever you have. And I have my little pastry brush here. I'm just going to coat the bottom of the pan. So this is a super simple recipe, as I said, but it's a time-consuming recipe. It's a bit tedious because it just takes a while. So we got the pan layered with a little bit of butter. We're going to take 1 sheet of phyllo dough. It's super thin, like thinner than paper. You want to make sure you separate it. Sometimes after you cut it, it sticks together a little bit at the edges, but it's very delicate. In fact, that first piece broke, so we're going to lay it in the pan. We're going to take this piece that sort of broke off, and we're going to lay that right next to it to fill in the space. What's nice about the phyllo dough and with the baklava, we're putting so many layers of a phyllo dough that if one of them's ripped a little bit or has a hole, it's not going to be the end of the world. It's like even this, I'm just kind of filling in the space a little bit with this extra that I had, that I had trimmed off. As we get more into the layering of it, it'll be less of an issue. So, but that's the first layer, okay? And then we're just, in between each layer, we're going to take more butter and we're going to paint it on. So before we even put any of our filling in, we're going to add 6 to 8 layers of this phyllo dough. So this is just layer 1, and we're going to put a layer of butter in between each one. So I'm going to do this, I'm going to layer all this until we get to the filling, and then we'll come back and we'll show you what we're doing. Alright? Okay guys, so I have the first layer, so there's basically there's 8 layers of phyllo dough, a thin coating of butter in between each one, and that is the bottom, layer of phyllo. So now we're ready to add some of our filling. We're going to put between 3 to 5 heaping tablespoons. Just want to sprinkle it in, and it might not seem like it's very much. You're like, oh, you're not really filling it very much. We're going to be doing this a bunch of times, so you don't necessarily have to have so much in one particular layer. So that's pretty good, just like that. You can spread it out a little bit if you want. And that's what that looks like. So that's just the first layer of filling with phyllo dough. So now we're going to take our pastry brush. I'm just going to drizzle. Can't really paint it, but I'm just going to drizzle some more butter on top. And what this will do is it'll help the next layer of phyllo dough to adhere a bit. So our next step is to take more phyllo dough, and we're going to do a layer of, basically a 4-sheet layer of the phyllo dough on top of this filling. Then we're going to put more filling, and then we're going to do another 4 sheets of phyllo dough, and then more filling, and then we're going to put our top layer on. Now, some people, if they, there's different ways of doing it, of course.
for about 3 to 5 minutes. And all the sugar and the honey is dissolved and mixed together nicely. So now we're just gonna let this cool completely. All right, so this is the finished baklava. Literally just came out of the oven. So now we're gonna take our sauce that's been sitting and cooling, and we're gonna spoon it right over it. And you can hear it sizzle as we do that. And we want the baklava to absorb as much of this syrup as possible. Makes it a bit sticky on top, but that's okay. Just covering as much of it as possible. We're gonna use all this syrup. In fact, I wish I made a little bit more because it goes quick. You can see it getting all nice and shiny. We're just gonna get every last drop of it out. Doesn't that look beautiful? So now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna let this sit uncovered at least 4 or 5 hours minimum. We're actually gonna put it in the refrigerator, but even better, you let it sit overnight. Do not cover it. Don't put any plastic or anything over it because the plastic will just stick to the top. And then when you go to take the plastic off, the phyllo dough is so thin that it'll just pull right off. So the next thing we'll do is, we'll wait till either later today or even possibly tomorrow when I'll come back and show you the finished product. But what you can see actually, if you look really close, we'll zoom in a bit, you can see the layers right there. Right there. It looks really pretty. So that's going to absorb all the syrup. Hopefully it stays nice and moist, which is what you're looking for. And it'll be beautiful. Okay guys, so baklava has been soaking for a while. I'm ready to take it out of the pan. I've got a couple guests at the house that are itching to get into it. So I'm going to show you what it looks like and then give them their treat. So the walnuts do sometimes stick to the sides, so you want to just sort of run your spatula. Get a good piece. And you want to make sure, like, when you cut down to the bottom initially, when you were making those lines, so it doesn't stick to the bottom. But that's beautiful. Look at that. How could you not want that? Right? So we're gonna put that on the platter for them. So that's my baklava. I'm telling you, it tastes great. If you like it, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what you think. I'm gonna put the recipe in the description. I hope you try it. Let me know how it worked for you. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to my channel because I am trying to post videos on a regular basis. And that's about it. mycakecrate.com. If you want to order your own subscription, which this month will include some of this baklava, go to mycakecrate.com and order before June 10th, and you'll get this month's crate. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you next time.